Why did she want help?
You know very well why she wanted help.
No, I don't. I know why she needed help. But as I wasn't there, I don't know what she wanted from the committee.
I don't think we need to discuss it.
You have no hope of not discussing it, Mrs. Burley.
If you think you can bring any pressure to bear upon me, Inspector, you're quite mistaken. Unlike the other three, I did nothing that I'm ashamed of, or that won't bear up under investigation. The girl asked for assistance. We were asked to look carefully into the claims made upon us. I wasn't satisfied with the girl's claim. She seemed to me to be not a good case. And so I used my influence to have it refused. And in spite of what's happened to the girl since, I consider I did my duty. So if I prefer not to discuss it any further, you have no power to make me change my mind.
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't. Simply because I've done nothing wrong and you know it.
I think you've done something terribly wrong, and that you're going to spend the rest of your life regretting it. I wish you'd been with me tonight in the infirmary. You would have seen...
No, please, not that again. I've imagined it enough already.
Then the next time you imagine it, just remember that this girl was going to have a child.
No, oh, how horrible, horrible. How could she have wanted to kill herself?
Because she'd been turned out and turned down too many times. This was the end.
Mother, you must have known.
It was because she was going to have a child that she came for assistance to your mother's committee.
Look here, this wasn't Gerald Croft.
No, nothing to do with him.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Though I don't know why I should care now.
And you've nothing further to tell me, eh?
I'll tell you what I told her. Go and look for the father of the child. It's his responsibility.
That doesn't make it any the less yours. She came to you at a time of help when no woman could have needed it more. And you not only refused that help, but saw to it that others refused it too. She was there alone, friendless, almost penniless. She needed not only advice, but sympathy and friendliness. You've had children, you must have known how she was feeling. And you slammed the door in her face.
Mother, I think it was cruel and vile.
I must say, Sybil, that when this comes out at the inquest, it isn't going to do as much good. The press might easily take it off.
Stop it, both of you. And please remember, before you start accusing me of anything again, that it wasn't I who had her turned out of her employment, which probably began it all. In the circumstances, I think I was justified. The girl had begun by telling us a pack of lies. Afterwards, when I got at the truth, I discovered that she knew who the father was. She was quite certain about that. So I told her it was her business to make him responsible. If he refused to marry her, and in my opinion he ought to be compelled to, then he must at least support her.
And what did she reply to that?
Oh, a lot of silly nonsense.
What was it?
And whatever it was, I know it made me finally lose all patience with her. She was giving herself ridiculous airs. She was claiming elaborate fine feelings and scruples that were simply absurd in a girl in her position.
Her position now is that she lies on a slab. Oh, don't stammer and yammer at me again, man. I'm beginning to lose all patience with you people. What happened?
She said that the father was only a youngster, silly and wild and drinking too much. There couldn't be a question of marrying him. It would be wrong for both of them. He had given her money, but she didn't want to take any more money from him.
Why didn't she want to take any more money from him?
Oh, a lot of nonsense. I didn't believe a word of it.
I'm not asking you if you believe it or not. I want to know what she said. Why didn't she want to take any more money from the boy?
Oh, she had some fancy reason. As if a girl like that would refuse money.
I warn you, you're making it worse for yourself. What reason did she give for not wanting to take any more money?
Her story was that he'd said something one night when he was drunk that gave her the idea it wasn't his money.
Where had he got it from then?
He'd stolen it.
So she'd come to you for assistance because she didn't want to take stolen money.
That's the story she finally told, after I'd refused to believe her original story, that she was a married woman who'd been deserted by her husband. I didn't see any reason to believe that one story should be any truer than the other. Therefore, you're quite wrong to suppose I shall regret what I did.
But if her story was true, if this boy had been giving her stolen money, then she came to you for help because she wanted to keep this youngster out of any more trouble. Isn't that so?
Possibly, but it sounded ridiculous to me. So I was perfectly justified in advising my committee not to allow her claim for assistance.
You're not even sorry now, when you know what happened to this girl.
Oh, I'm sorry she should have come to such a horrible end, but I accept no blame for it at all.
Well, who is to blame then?
First, the girl herself.
For letting Father and me have her chucked out of her jobs.
Secondly, I blame the young man who was the father of the child she was going to have. If, as she said, he didn't belong to her class and was some drunken young idler, then that's all the more reason why he shouldn't escape. He should be made an example of. If the girl's death is due to anybody, then it's due to him.
And if her story is true, that he was stealing money?
Oh, there's no point in assuming that.
But suppose we do, what then?
Well, then he'd be entirely responsible, because the girl wouldn't have come to us and have been refused assistance if it hadn't been for him and the way...
So he's the chief culprit anyhow?
Certainly. And he ought to be dealt with very severely.
Mother, stop!
Be quiet, Sheila.
But don't you see?
You're behaving like an hysterical child tonight. And if you'll take some steps to find this young man and then make sure he's compelled to confess in public his responsibility, instead of staying here asking quite unnecessary questions, then you really would be doing your duty.
Don't worry, Mrs. Burling. I shall do my duty.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
No hushing up, eh? Make an example of the young man, eh? Public confessions of responsibility.
Certainly. I consider it your duty. And now, no doubt, you'd like to say good night.
Not yet. I'm waiting.
Waiting? For what?
To do my duty.
Now, Mother, don't you see?
But surely I mean, it's ridiculous.
Look, Inspector, you're not trying to tell us that my boy is mixed up in all this.
If he is, then we know what to do, don't we? Mrs. Burling has just told us.
My God, but look here.
I don't believe it. I won't believe it.
Mother, I begged and begged you to stop.
You know, don't you?
Yes, we know.
Eric, I can't believe it. There must be some mistake. You don't know what we've been saying.
It's a good job for him he doesn't, isn't it?
Why?
Well, because Mother's been busy blaming everything on the young man who got this girl into trouble, saying how he shouldn't escape and should be made an example of.
That's enough, Sheila.
You haven't made it any easier for me, have you, Mother?
But I didn't know it was you. I never dreamt. Besides, you're not the type. You don't get drunk.
Of course he does. I told you he did.
You told her. Why, you little sneak.
No, that's not fair, Eric. I could have told her months ago, but I didn't. I only told her tonight because I knew everything was coming out. It was simply bound to come out tonight. So I thought she might as well know in advance. Don't forget, I've been through it already.
Sheila, I simply don't understand your attitude.
Neither do I. If you had any sense of loyalty...
Just a minute, Mr. Burling. There'll be plenty of time when I've gone for you all to adjust your family relationships. But now I must hear what your son has to tell me. And I'll be obliged if you'll let us get on without any further interruptions. Now then.
Can I have a drink first?
No!
Yes, I know he's your son, and this is your house. But look at him. He needs a drink now just to see him through.
All right. Go on. I understand a lot of things now that I didn't understand before.
Don't start on that. I want to get on. When did you first meet this girl?
One night, last November.
Where did you meet her?
In the Palace Bar. I've been there an hour or so with 2 or 3 chaps. I was a bit squiffy.
What happened then?
I began talking to her and stood her a few drinks. I was rather far gone by the time we had to go.
Was she drunk too?
Well, she told me afterwards she was a bit. But chiefly because she'd not had much to eat that day.
Why had she gone there?
She wasn't the usual sort, but, well, I suppose she didn't know what to do. There was some woman who wanted her to go there. I never quite understood about that.
You went with her to her lodgings that night?
Yes, I insisted, it seems. I'm not very clear about it, but afterwards she told me that she didn't want to go in. But that, well, I was in that state where a chap easily turns nasty, and I threatened to make a row.
So she let you in?
Yes, and that's when it happened. And I didn't even remember. That's the hellish thing. Oh, my God, how stupid it all was.
Oh, Eric!